Hello friends, in our last video we talked about how we would be able to parameterize the test inside the Cucumber. The Cucumber steps here, this is the steps that we used last time where we are parameterizing two of the values, the first name and the last name. And when we go inside this, first name as a last name as a regex, and then this value, the first argument, this will read this value. Same thing with the last name, so it has to be the same order that we are trying to pass. Basically this line 21 is the one that represents your Cucumber feature to extract this method inside this. So associated method is based on this Cucumber itself. The name there is been written. Okay, so if you want to see where this first name and last name is being used, we need to go inside of where it is being used. So if you see here, line 26 is the one that is taking these parameters. So I go there and I see what these values are doing. F name is the first name and last name, that's where we're sending it. So it looks like it is sending the first name and the last name inside the registration field, and looks like the rest of the stuff is hard-coded. Okay, so let's try to use the same scenario. So we're not writing any new method. I have a new step here. So here's the thing. So with the scenario, outline versus scenario, so two things you need to understand is with the scenario you cannot write any examples. Okay, like these examples you cannot write inside the scenario. Scenario does not expect anything followed by the features. That's the number one rule. So if you need to pass any data into the scenario, you would be passing like this. So basically you are hard coding the value. Given when and then, those conditions remains. So that has nothing to do with what scenario or the scenario outline. Only thing different is that with this scenario outline, it's a mandatory that you provide the examples. So examples, inside the examples you are passing the gherkin table. Gherkin table means it has a gherkin table header, and then each of this row talks about one time execution. So when you have two of this row, it is going to execute two times. So scenario outline is going to address those types. So in this scenario, what happens is it is going to first execute with this set of data. Next time it is going to run the same scenario from line 14 and 15 with this set of data. Okay, so every time it takes new data from you being provided. So if I come here inside this test, line number 15 and line number 9 basically does the same thing. Only different is line number 9 takes the values with the first name last name. So let's do that. Let me copy this method. So it is basically doing the filling registration. Only thing is line number 15, this step is a hard coder, so it does not ask you any parameters to be passed. If you read that, this is the method and there's nothing being passed. So it looks like this method itself is hard coded. I'm using same thing, fill in registration form with the first name last name passed, that is being used there. Okay, so don't get confused. I'm just trying to use this as a parameter so that I can use two different sets of the data from there. So I'm going to comment that. Okay, instead of Rajesh, I need to pass this is the value now. Okay, this is my value. This value has to be inside the angle bracket. If you put Rajesh like this, that means it is only one value. But now this table header can be your key, like a hash map key. You pass that key, and then each of this scenario it will run. It will take one set of data. Next time when you run, it will take first name as a Nikhil. Okay, same thing with the last name. Okay, last name also I'm not hard coding anything, I'm passing that as a parameter. So what happens is each of this time, so when it runs line number 20 as a first test, it goes by line. Okay, first row first. So when it runs the line number 20, it is going to take all of these sets of the data, and then but here what happens is email and company, I'm not using that now yet. Okay, I can add that, but I'm not using yet. So if you see, this step is only passing first name and last name. So we are trying to use these two for now. We can further elaborate that to use email as well as company, and you can add based on your company, based on your scenario. You can add as many parameters you want. There's no limitations. You can add 20 columns, 30 columns, it's up to you. As long as you can maintain that data, it is you. Next thing you need to understand is the space does not matter here. Okay, space is automatically trimmed in Cucumber data. There's no way you can add spaces. So even if you have a space or if you don't have a space, it does not really matter. Okay, so that's the thing you need to understand. So there's no spaces in the Cucumber stuff. So it's a good practice and it is easy to read, so that make sure these columns are in the right place, straight order, so that you don't end up looking what value is from what. And this thing is a table header, which means that this is the header for this itself, so which means this is like a key. This is the values, key value, and you can have a duplicate values here, it does not matter. Okay, key is only one, but the values is different. This is just like a hash map, but these are called Gherkin table, Gherkin table. So in this scenario, if I run, I know this scenario is going to fail because I need to do some configuration changes, because this is the browser test. But let me show you how it will fail and we can look at how it will fix. Okay, so if I run this, I will right click here, run configuration. And my test is Cucumber test, so I'll just run this. Okay, it is running. Okay, our first setup test is running. So watch this, watch what data is being passed. Okay, it is filling the registration. Look at this, first name is Rajesh, last name is Hamal, and then you have a date of birth, and rest is the hard-coded from the method. Okay, so it is just selecting by the index. All I'm just doing is filling, even the email. So it does what it should do, and then it will basically finish this test. So it is closing this browser, that's what I have asked to do. And then look, it is adding Nikhil and Upreti. Okay, but it did not close the browser. Okay, that's some odd. We don't want to do that. Okay, so it's not closing the browser, but the test passed. So the bottom line is the test passed. So what happens is we want to close the test every time it ends. Okay, this, if you want to see here, you go to JUnit, it is passing, and then when you go to the example, it is running the first test with Rajesh Hamal, second test with Nikhil Upreti. Okay, so these two tests are different set of the tests. So if you see in the Cucumber, it ran the first set and then last set. I need to add some configuration so that I want to close the browser and launch the new session so that it starts over. What happened here is, when it finished this test, it did not close the browser because I did not put any code to close it. So it continued with the next test with launching the new application. So basically it just re-entered the URL and it launched into the same page. Usually we don't want to do that. We may be trying to launch with the different users and different user login, and all that different cases may arise. So we usually want to close each scenario by scenario. Okay, to do that, let's go to our hooks. Okay, in the hooks here, this is the before, that's where we are launching the browser. So let's add one method called after. So this after is going to close the browser. Okay, so when you go to after, just like you did for before, you would be doing, let me call this tear down. Here what I want to do is I want to just quit the driver. Okay, driver dot quit. So here now what happens is first test will run and then it will close the browser and it will come to next scenario where it will launch the application again. Let's run this test again, and this time it will fail, and I expect that to fail. Run configuration, because I don't want to run under the existing browser. I want to launch the new browser when I run it. So it is initializing. So first test will pass just like nothing happened, but when it tries to go to next test, it will fail. Watch this error message. So it is loading the Excel data, getting URL. You see 2 scenarios are being triggered. It is filling the first scenario. Okay, and then you close the first scenario. Okay, first scenario is closed, but watch the second scenario, it throws the error. Okay, so what happens is the session ID is null. So basically what happens is the WebDriver that it is trying to launch for the next scenario is already closed. Okay, so WebDriver session that was under the controller, that is already closed, so it could not launch the new application, because when it tries to get into this step, it is looking for WebDriver being null. And if you want to see what do I have inside, let's go there. First of all is I said get driver. Okay, in the get driver it said if the driver is null, then only launch me the new browser, because this browser is already closed. But since the session wasn't out, so driver isn't null. Null means it has no value, but it had some random value which wasn't value at all. Okay, so what do we have to do is we need to write something called here. So when it happens here in the after it quit the driver, and it could not come here because get driver is the one that is not working. We need to set something called set driver now, so that what happens is we can add more steps to make sure the driver is null and it will start over. So let's write that method. So I will say public static void set driver. Here I'm going to pass the driver. Okay, exception. So here what I do is I'm going to just copy the whole thing. Okay, so what I do is I'm going to set the driver. If I pass some WebDriver here, this is going to set me the driver. Okay, so that's all I'm doing. That's all it is doing here. So here instead of new Chrome driver, I'm going to pass whatever driver you are giving me, that is what I'm going to set. Okay, so what I do now, I'm going to call this method from browser for this cucumber hook. After it is closed, what do I do? Watch this very carefully. Okay, you'll get so much mistake here. So I will say browser dot set, and then I will pass this as a set driver, pass that as a null. So when I pass this value null, what happens is it is going to reset the entire driver, and it will come back to before step, and it will launch me the new driver. Because when you get inside that get driver, it is saying if it is null, then please do the whole thing again. So now let's run this test, and I want to pass this test now. So when we execute this test, I can just do the quick recap and show you the detail again. So let's see this test. So I did nothing, everything is there. So let's see, and now I want to run both of the scenario. Okay, if you see here, it is going to run this whole setup scenario. Next time it is going to run this setup scenario. Okay, that is from our old register. Let me open the one, it is initializing the browser. Okay, So watch this, first name and a last name. So this time it is filling from the first row, and it will basically close the browser, and then it will relaunch the browser, but with the same scenario, same set of the scenario it is going to trigger. So next time that closed, and then it is going to go to the scenario number 002, and if you see, it is launching the browser again, and it is running just like the other scenario ran. Okay, so the before and after makes are the key here. Okay, that makes sure your browser is terminated and it starts again. So if you see here, now this is running the second set of the data. Okay, so this is how you would be able to customize your Cucumber test in order to get more coverage, so where you can address all different types of the users, and you can set the test. So if you see here, now this time it is passing the proper way. Okay, so if you see here, everything is coming as usual, and if you see the data is showing the different set of the data. So here Rajesh and Hama. So let's go to quick recap. First of all, I need to make sure it is a scenario outline. Rest is the same. The Cucumber steps, nothing different. This would be same as the scenario. The data, instead of passing like this time I'm passing the data here. Okay, because I added a space there. So when I pass the data, this is how I would be calling. So inside the angle braces, that is going to call that as a variable, which is part of the Gherkin table header. It is not reading from here, it is reading from here. So what happens is, you are passing this data from the table header. Table header are the keys, like a hash map key. So what happens is, whatever line row it is on, that value is going to be the value. So it is running line number 20, first scenario, the values are these. Okay, next time it runs from line number 21, the values are this, but the keys remain same. So we're asking only two values here, because this step only asks for two parameters, first name and a last name. I haven't used emails and company, but feel free to show, and you can add as many data like this. The main benefit of having scenario outline is that you can pass all different sets of the data and run the same scenario. The scenario does not change, so it is going to run the entire steps from 14 to 16, because 15 is commented. 14 and 16 is going to run for any set of the data. I can even add two more of the data here, and it does not matter. Okay, I can add 20 different set of the data, it does not matter. Okay, so it can be 3, 4, does not matter, it does not need to be in a serial. It will run the all 4 set of the scenario now. So what happens is, you can add different emails here, different test data can be passed, different names can be passed, just like that. All of the different test data you can pass here inside the examples. That's why scenario outline is very popular, and very proper way you would be able to run your so much of the integration tests or any regression tests. This is going to help you a lot running the test with different sets of the data. So next thing is, if you have this one, you have to make sure your browser is closed properly and then it is launching. So to handle that, when you go to hooks has a before and after, two different sets. And if you watch this closely, over here, this is coming from Cucumber API. It is not the JUnit before or testng. Okay, so this is coming from Cucumber API. So if you come here, it is importing Cucumber before and after. It is not the JUnit, regular JUnit thing. So that has to be make sure. Otherwise, if you import this into JUnit, what happens is, your feature file that you are trying to run the test, it is looking for anything before that is coming from Cucumber, not the JUnit. So what happens is, that is going to ignore whatever other before after annotations are defined under JUnit. It will only look if there are any before or after defined, and those has to be any, those does not need to be any specific package. You can put it anywhere, but it will look out throughout the project wherever before and after is defined. Next thing is, once you quit, make sure your driver is set to null, otherwise it does not come into this condition to come true. If you come here, you have a condition, say if the driver is null, that's only you launch the application. Okay, that's the main purpose. You have to make sure that is null so that it will start again when it comes to line number 22 or 21. Okay, so these are the things only you need to know. Rest is same, launching browser, and then this my all scenario is same. Now this time this will run so much of the data. I can add a negative path, a positive path, all different sets of the data. For example, you are trying to do the login application, then you can pass empty value, login, invalid password, valid password, all different sets of the data you can pass into one single scenario and validate the things. Okay, that's all for now, and I hope this video has been very helpful for you to understand how you'd be able to work around with scenario outline onto Cucumber test by passing all different sets of the data. And I believe this will be very helpful for your project in order to automate your Cucumber test. Thank you very much for watching my video, and please, as usually you do, please continue to watch, like, add any comments if you have, and please subscribe my channel. Thank you very much.